Greetings in the name of Yahuah and his son Yahushua Mashiach. My name is Malak Shalomo. Today is the 22nd of September 2024. It's 7:42 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm going to do a trade recap here I did on Bitcoin. So firstly, I'm going to show here where some of these trades got this setup here got stopped out a bunch of times, right? So went short here, stopped out, went short, stopped out, went short, and stopped out here, right? Now this is a silver pivot zone, and I'm now gonna throw on the pivot levels, Camarilla, and the floor pivots, so we could see why I marked out this zone, right? So I call this a silver pivot zone. So this here, we have some labels over here, right? So we have L3, which is actually Camarilla S3 at 63,137, and we have the bottom central, which says BC at 63,165, right? And then we have the pivot level here, central pivot at 63,231, and the top central at 63,296, right? So I was basically trying to catch this short here off of these levels with my Black Sun strategy, and I was using the VWAP bands, right? So came up here, took some premature trades on this. It wasn't close enough to these pivot levels, and we had VWAP bands here at this trade that is the +1 VWAP upper deviations that's lining up kind of with S4 right here, which it says L4 at 62,911. So trying to catch those reversals right there, or the Black Sun strategy, the rejection after this this sell-off here. Now this was basically, I don't know, this was a tricky setup because we were getting a lot of support here off of this floor pivot S1, right? Floor pivot S1. Let me just make that bigger. So this copper pivot zone is basically a double pivot of two different pivot levels. So L5 is actually Camarilla S5, which is at 62,534, and floor pivot S1 is at 62,556. Right, so let me just point that out. Blue line Camarilla S5, green line floor pivot S1. Right, those are the levels right there, 62,534. And floor pivot at 62,549, right? This was overnight low, somewhere around here, right? Well, not somewhere around here, 62,556, that was overnight low. So, all right, let's go back to the trade here. So what I'm gonna do here is I basically want to show this on these setups on Bookmap, right? But basically this is the trade that actually materialized right there into a winner. So this short right here added to the position and took profit down here, right? I guess it was, I don't know exactly where, but we'll go over to Bookmap for the exact levels. Now on one of these trades here on Bookmap, I stopped out prematurely, right? So this trade here was actually the successful trade. So let me just go across here real quick and do this. Let me take this off. All right, let me set up the VWAP. Anchor the VWAP from, let's do 9:30 this morning. Let's take this off. Right, so you could see this here was basically this entry right here was lining up with the Camarilla S3 and the BC pivot, central pivot, right? So that was a breakdown here also of +1 VWAP. So if we go up to this level here, we're going to do 2 deviations up. So this is going to be +2 VWAP. You're going to see here that this is lining up. Actually, this was lining up with top central pivot, right? So If you just go back in the video, you would see this is bottom central and Camarilla S3 within this silver pivot zone. And above it, we have central pivot here and top central pivot. So what this is here, this setup Black Sun strategy is basically a rejection or exhaustion at +1 VWAP and a breakdown of the top central pivot. So I'm always looking for a pivot level and upper deviation to go short, right, for the Black Sun strategy. So let's see, we're gonna switch over here to bookmap where I can demonstrate this trade. So this was the, let me just open this up. Right, so you can see here, that's the top central pivot. That's the pivot level we're looking for to give the trade one of the trade criterias, right? So we have the pivot level, we have liquidity. This could be either here nor there, right? It's better if the liquidity is here and we get exhaustion, but I don't need the liquidity to be there for resistance, right? But it's better, it's more of a A plus setup when we have heavy liquidity providing that resistance, right? So let's see here. Let me try and right. So this yellow line here is +2 VWAP, right, from the RT8 session, which is anchored from 9:30 a.m. This red line right here I'm highlighting is +2 VWAP anchored from the ET8 session, which begins at 8 p.m. in the prior day, right? And this right here is +2 VWAP anchored from the London session, which is 3 a.m. this morning, right? Which is the 22nd, right? So we have these three VWAP bands because everything kind of happens in a zone. This is not exact to the T, right? Or to the level or to the VWAP bands. Sometimes it's good to have these other VWAP bands to provide confluence, right? So if you notice here, I didn't enter the trade until we actually broke London's VWAP, which is the last +2 VWAP right here, right? So that's the trade entry right there. And let's highlight it and see. So that executed 10 sell at 63,240, right? Now, if you notice, London VWAP is +2 at 63,235, right? So I waited for the exhaustion to take place. We ran into, basically we touched the liquidity level here. Let's see what we had. We had on the offer, we had 200 and let's see, let's go here. 236 Bitcoin at 6,300, right? So they ran above it a little bit. So let's open this up and see what actually happened, right? And I think I was looking at something on Bookmap Education, and I think they kind of said that some of these levels here, right? Because you see, it looks like we jumped above this liquidity, but this is actually happening in a different exchange, right? So Bookmap is kind of consolidating the data from this is Binance, right? So from Binance, it has different levels where the price is actually executing, right? Now this is bookmap data, and I believe, I don't know, I think I came back to current price. Let me just go back. Yeah, so bookmap data with Bitcoin is, I think they're getting it from Coinbase, right? Wait, hold on a second. Let me find where we were. Right, it's definitely before this big pop-up here. And right, that's the trade right there. And this is what I was breaking down. This is the first attempt and the stop out, right? Right, so let's see, let's open this up a little more. right? So this would, as you see, this bubble here popped above this liquidity, but basically this is just showing you what's happening on a different exchange. This isn't happening on this exchange here, which I believe is Coinbase, where Bookmap is getting their data from, but I can't be certain about that, right? But this is happening, I believe this is happening on Binance, right? So on this exchange, which I believe is Coinbase, this liquidity here never got breached, right? So the buyers here, this is on Coinbase, and they're affected by the liquidity on Coinbase, right? So they're getting absorbed. The buyers can push through this liquidity. So let's see what this bubble had. This bubble had 2.55 executed buys, right? This liquidity here is 239 Bitcoin. So it's no way that they're going to push through this, right? This big bubble right here is 85 Bitcoins, right? So they have massive resistance here with this liquidity. Now this that popped up again, this above here is happening on a different exchange, because on this exchange it could never get through this level with this amount of liquidity on the delta buys. It'll never get above there, right? So just pointing that out. And I actually have this here. This is a, let me just open this up. On Bookmap, they have something called cross BBO, right? So what you could do is have the best offer, the best bid, and the last trade anchored onto this chart that I'm on, right, from Binance. So this is from the Binance exchange, and you see those are the levels, the best offer, best bid, and the last trade, right? So what happened here is this is showing the last trade at this point in time, and this right here highlighting the best offer, right? So it's a little different with the exchanges, and this is showing the last trade on Binance. So this probably even happened on a different exchange out of Binance as well, because Binance doesn't show a last trade happening above here. It happened here, right? So it just gives me a visual of what's happening on the Binance exchange, and this is the best offer, right? But on this exchange, this is the offer here, the last offer, and this is the bid, right? So there's a difference. This is the offer here from Binance. That's the bid here from Binance, right? So let's see here. Let's get to the trade. I just thought I'd show you, I'd break that down, right? As you see that pop above there without breaching this liquidity, right? So we're starting to get exhaustion on the offer, right? In front of this liquidity, in front and, well, not in front, but below these +2 VWAPs, right? The yellow, the red, and then we have the purple from London, right? So we're getting exhaustion on the offer. No big buyers coming on the offer again. They don't want to get back up to this liquidity. We have this resistance level of the +2 VWAP from London. They're trying to get some buys off of that, right? Some of them are hitting the bid. When they get up here again, no buyers attacking the bid. I mean the offer, right? So let's move across here. And I entered right here. Let me just point that out as well. So I entered short here, right, at 63,240, just before we broke this London VWAP here, +2 VWAP at 63,236, right? Because you see the aggressive selling is coming in here, overtaking the buyers, and we have this resistance level of the +2 VWAP from the ETH and +2 VWAP from the RTH session. We also have this liquidity above here as well. So they have to get through two levels of liquidity here, right? They're not making a good attempt right now. This was another attempt here after I entered. They came up here, got absorbed. Sellers take over again. And honestly, I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. I can see it right now. So I had a couple bad trades like I was showing you over here. that I had some previous attempts that got stopped out here, right? And this was at around, let's say, from 1:15 in the afternoon to around 3:55, right? So I got stopped out a couple times. This one came into profit, came down here just above VWAP, and we pushed back up again, right? So I was a little cautious with this trade right here, right? So by the time this big bubble came in here, I just decided to stop out, right? As we were approaching this, something just told me to stop out, right? Now, this big bubble here is 127. Let's see what actually happened here. All right, so this liquidity on the offer started to get absorbed. We have it started off at around, let's see, it was right, that's the marker right there, 252, and it started to slowly pull away, 228, 216, 213, and then we started to get the buyers attacking it, right? So I guess the buyers started smelling blood and they realized like they're pulling, so the algo stepped in and started to buy, right? So they absorbed, but they didn't really absorb this liquidity. This liquidity basically pulled before they started attacking it, right? So they got out the way. This liquidity stayed in the book, right? So there's still resistance above. And let's see, I think 169 to 171. So they started to add just above it, right? For a brief moment, and then I guess they started to drop again to 160. Anyway, no follow through, right? That's one of the things I look for. So if we have this big volume going in here, we attacking, the buyers attacking, right? And then we have no follow through, right? So that's one of the criteria I'm looking at for the Black Sun strategy. We have these +2 VWAP bands, we have the liquidity, we have the buyer coming to attempt. It's either exhaustion or we get big buyers who can't follow through, right? So after these guys make their attempt, we don't see them anymore, right? We start losing ground, they start losing ground, right? And they're breaking down these +2 VWAP bands, right? So this is after getting stopped out there or just stopping out prematurely, which I probably could have stayed in this trade, right? But I did over here, right? On this trade here, yeah, I think, no, I stopped out there as well, right? So yeah, all right, let me go back over here. Right, so no follow through from the big buyer, right? We're starting to lose ground, and I probably should have jumped in way before I did here because I'm already seeing the exhaustion, but I waited for the retest because I lost time, right? I should have entered at least around here when I saw a breakdown of this consolidation right here, right? So I was a little slow on the trigger right here. We're getting a breakdown, big seller at the bottom of this accumulation right here, and this would have been a good entry just below this +2 VWAP from the London session, right? Which is that purple dash line right there, right? So I missed that, and I had to kind of wait to see if I could get another opportunity, maybe a retest. So first sign of bias here at +1 VWAP. We got a little bounce. Again, I was a little slow to the trade, and I didn't enter here, right? See the exhaustion. No buyers really following through. Sellers coming in. But eventually I jumped in here at, let's see here, 63,100. Right, so you can see that purple arrow right there. Highlighting it again. And then that's a breakdown of +1 VWAP as well, right? So after that, had a little shakedown here, started to come back up. Looking at the buyer's response, right? As you can see, the buyer's response is kind of weak, Basically looking like exhaustion, no follow through, no big delta bubbles, right? This is another attempt here. Nothing really happening here. We had these pivot levels. Could have probably added to the trade there if I was more aggressive, but I wasn't confident because of the prior losses, right? But I did enter again, right? So I'm eating my own words right now. So after I saw this exhaustion right here, and then the seller started to take control, added two more right here, right? So I forgot I actually did that. So I guess I was getting my confidence back, seeing the structure, seeing the setup, seeing this is +1 VWAP, seeing this is Camarilla S3 and the bottom central pivot, getting the rejection here, right? All black sun strategy criterias coming into play, right? +1 VWAPs getting breakdown, entry, right? So now this here is +1 VWAP from the London session. You see I'm highlighting it right now, right? So from there, let me open this up. You see there's liquidity here trying to support this right here, right? So we had this pop up, but then we have an aggressive seller capping price. Now this is from these guys here who are aggressively entering their sell positions. They're capping these buyers here, right? So they got absorbed a little bit. They took out some of it, and then let me see, they reapplied that, right? So let me just show you this action here. This is stuff that Bookmap is just great for seeing these things very, very quickly, right? So they put the liquidity there on the offer to block these guys. These guys came and absorbed a little bit. You see it got dry a little bit, and they applied again, right? So it's basically showing the buyers that you really got to put some money behind this to get through this level, right? The buyers forfeit the game and sellers apply more pressure, right? Straight on the bid. That's the buyers here from these guys. That's their stop. They're trying to support price at this level. Running through them, they start pulling because they're forfeiting the game right now. They can't handle the selling, right? They try dropping it lower. Sellers attacking, right? They try dropping their bid again. This is like when you're in a losing trade and you start moving your stop down. These guys do the same thing, right? So don't think that doing anything better than you are, right? They're losing the trade, trying to move their stop down, adding to their losing trade, right? They're getting stopped out here. They're starting to pull their stop again, dropping it lower, dropping it lower. And the sellers are smelling blood, they're not stopping. They're just applying more pressure, right? Let's see. And this is here where you see the sellers are capping price as they come down, right? They're putting it on the offer as they hit these cells, they're putting their basically their stop on the offer, right? And basically capping these guys here. Now when they see the aggressiveness at Camarilla S4, right? And that was also the ETH VPOC. So we're approaching a heavy buy level or where buyers could try and step in, right? So they didn't really have any liquidity. They had some here. They were stepping down a little bit, but they're down here, right? They're below VPOC at this point. So sellers stepped off the gas to see what's going to happen around this level, around VPOC. They want to see if these guys are going to actually retaliate here, right? So they start retaliating, but they have no follow through really. And that's the answer right there, right? If at this key level, Camarilla S4 and ETH VPOC, you don't come in here, right? You got a little wiggle room. They gave you a little room to see what you're going to do. You don't respond properly, they're going to step on the gas again, right? So they stepped on the sell orders again, market orders. These guys got to pull their stops, right? All that is liquidity, trying to bring it down. They're attacking that liquidity. They even got down to these heavy levels here of liquidity, right? So you can see the war taking place and who's actually winning. So now that we get down to this liquidity level here, again, the sellers stop a little bit, see if these guys are going to retaliate, right? Barely any buyers, no retaliation. What do we get? Aggressive sellers again. They pull their stops, right? So the sellers now are seeing that, oh man, we could really get a lot out of this move here, right? So stepping on the gas, nobody on the bid right here, right? This is really dry stuff right here. So big sellers attacking the bid and just running through, sweeping through the book, right? Sweeping the book, sweeping the book until they come down to this heavy liquidity right here. Now, this is where they basically stopped applying pressure, right? For some reason, they stopped at 62,170, right? Because the liquidity here, they hit it a little bit, but these guys added to it, right? So I guess they added to their stops. And this was around yesterday's low. So I guess at yesterday's low, buyers are willing to really reply to the sellers, right? You see, they came in here after they see these guys ease off the gas. This is another way of the sellers, or as I was explaining before, they're going to ease up. This is where you get this sideways movement, right? They want to see what the buyers are going to do, right? Right here, right here, right? So it's a kind of steer step in action where they want to see what the buyers are going to do. They're giving them time, they're giving them room. But here you see the buyers are really starting to come in, right? Some of them are hitting the offer, which is that red line, right? No big deltas yet, but they're watching, sellers are watching, and they realize, okay, right, this guy is getting serious, right? So he buys up, and he puts his stop here. You see how that liquidity comes into the book? And they say, all right, we'll challenge that right now, right? So we'll see you on this liquidity. And they step on the gas here again. After they give him some room, step on the gas, took him out, right? So they come back down here and drop their stop again, right? Bring it down to the bid here. And I think somewhere around here, but we're going to see soon, right? So they let them pump here a little bit, right? Came back up to this prior auction level, right? No follow through. They're letting them kind of, they're kind of feeling them out, right? So it's like if they're fighting, they're seeing if you seem exhausted, maybe they just, they ease up. Like if it's a boxing match, you just ease up and see if he's gonna catch his breath and come back in, right? They're not really coming back in. They're fighting back a little bit, but then they start getting some more blows. Took on this liquidity here again, heavy selling, right? So they're really going for the knockout punch here. So they're stepping on it. Any liquidity they put here, they're taking them on, right? And this right here is the seller's liquidity. This is their stop, right? So after they make their move and they get it all the way down here, they add this here to see if the buyers, because they're kind of testing to see how far we could actually get this, right? Because this is one of the first bearish targets that, like, if it's a really bearish move, they want to get to floor pivot S1. So they apply that pressure right there. They're going to take some off the book if these guys want to retaliate around this level. And we have the buyer coming in here, right? So they basically taking profit as these guys respond, right? The buyer's response. And again, exhaustion, no follow through, right? And this buy here could just be taking profit as well after short covering, right? And this is a short covering, take profit as well. So sellers in control, no real response from the buyers. We see something here though. We see some buying liquidity. That's their stop, right? They're seeing the price action coming down here to floor pivot S1. They're just below. This here to me would probably be short covering as well, right? Because they know this is the bearish target. This is Camaria S5. This we're getting down way down here, right? So probably took some profit in front of this liquidity right here. And man, the sellers didn't ease up on them at all. You know what I mean? They actually took out this liquidity as well, right? Little pops here. They're adding liquidity, buyers adding liquidity, and they just swoop down on them here with this trade, right? And then after that, we start getting real buyers start coming in here. Let me see, where did I take profit on this trade? Because I'm seeing here, right? So I'm trailing my stop, right? I'm trailing my stop above these pops here, and this is -1 VWAP. So this is, I'm way beyond the target of this Black Sun strategy. If I'm shorting from +2 VWAP and I'm all the way down here at -1 VWAP, the trade is already successful, right? So I could trail my stop above this VWAP level here, this -1 VWAP. Let me just, right. So you see now we have a more cluster of buyers starting to come in at these levels, right? So it's just below S1. And as soon as we get here and we get this big buying attack in here, because this now is basically the bowling green strategy happening here, right? So this is how I gauge the bowling green strategy. It's an accumulation between -1 VWAP, -2 VWAP. And you see we start getting that accumulation. We're not breaking down -2 VWAP, although you could get a little shake below. We start getting that accumulation. And this is how I kind of start gauging the Wyckoff theory of after a selling climax, you get an automatic rally, right? So accumulation here. And what would be a bowling green entry for a reversal? This is now a Black Sun strategy stop out, right? This is the take profit right there. So took profit here roughly at S1. So I was holding the trade. I could have took profit here, right? But I was holding to see because the sellers were really aggressive. So I was looking to see if they were going to take it even lower, right? Right. So if I was quick on my feet, I could just enter a bowling green strategy right here, right? But stopped out of these trades here at basically 62,530, right? Just below floor pivot S1. And if I did take a bowling green strategy after that accumulation, let's see what would have happened here. But after all that selling, I gotta, like later on as I have more confidence in my strategy, I'll probably take profit here and then go half size on the reversal, right? So basically we got all the way back up to floor pivot R1, which is an amazing move from floor pivot S1, Camaria S5, right? All the way back up here to floor pivot R2 and +2 VWAP again. So if I was quick on my feet, I could have just taken a bowling green strategy right after the Black Sun strategy because it lined up perfectly, right? So yeah, that's my trade right there, man. Try to just kind of break down, and right now we're having another sell-off. We're coming back down here to floor pivot S1 again. And let me just switch over here to, you see how that's looking on the chart right there? So this is stopping out a lot of people. A lot of people are thinking, okay, bullish, like the Fed funds rate just got cut. People trying to buy a Bitcoin and they're getting trapped here Sunday night, right? They're trying to buy, sellers taking them on. So it's looking like sellers are trying to take control, and it's looking like they took control all the way here, right? From here at on Thursday, right? So it's looking like sellers took control from Thursday and they just keep on applying pressure, right? And look at this drop. It's a monster drop right now. So yeah, that's how I'm using these strategies here. And you can see this, let me see, go back over here. And I'm on +2 VWAP, right? So you can see here, this was basically another setup. I have the copper top zone here. This was at top central pivot. And I believe, wait, hold on. I think it's, let me go to bookmap and check it out. Right, so this drop is happening from Camarilla S3, Camarilla R3, sorry, right? And what's the, hold on. And that was this, what's this here? This is +1 VWAP from the RT8 session. And we had just opened this session here. So the RT8, the ET8 session VWAP just anchored here and reset here, right? So let's see what that looked like at the open. And this would be Camarilla R3 from the previous session. So this won't apply, but still, let's see what the setup was with the VWAP bands. So it's coming up here to, what is that? +3 VWAP, exhaustion, buyers coming in here at the open, exhaustion, no follow through. And again, liquidity at the bottom here trying to support price and sellers taking them on. So that's how you can start reading who has control of the market, right? Who's getting more aggressive, right? And Bookmap is really good for that. And already we have a bounce. Man, it's really crazy in the Bitcoin market, in the crypto market right now. So we had a bounce here. This is off of yesterday's floor pivot S1. So let's go over here, take off this VWAP, and let's go to the pivot levels. And let's see what's the new levels here. So the top central pivot is basically the breakdown of 63,448. Right, so let me switch back over here, 63,448. Which would be somewhere around here. Right, so this top central moved up and we got the setup here from these upper deviations here, +2 VWAP, top central, which is now at, let me just adjust it. Right, so you see, let me go back to the start. Right, and that's basically the pivot level we had to work with. Now, I could have taken this trade earlier, right, with the setup, but as the market is just opening for the Bitcoin session, I would probably take this breakdown here and still would catch a lot of that trade. So yeah, that's my Blackstone strategy, and also kind of demonstrating when the market bounces, it's basically, let's see here. Let's go over to the big screen. Right. So now we're having a bounce off of Camarilla S4, right? Now let's take that off for a second. All right, let me anchor this to the open. All right. And what do we have here? We have -1 VWAP. We had, as I showed you before, that was Camarilla S4 around this level. So we have our pivot level. We have -1 VWAP. And if I go over here, show you -2 VWAP, you can see here we have the accumulation now between -1 and -2, and we're getting that little pop-up reversal. Now, will it continue? I don't know because sellers looking like they're really aggressive right now, right? So going back over here, right? So what do we have here? We have this is -1 VWAP. This is -2 VWAP from the session that just opened. We have a little accumulation here, and we get that breakout, right? And let's see where we're at. We're at now, we're up to VWAP, right? We have big buyers going through VWAP. It's looking like continuation. So basically like a bowling green right there. So another setup just occurred with the Black Sun strategy from the top central pivot at the open. Now we came down to Camarilla S4. Let me just make that adjustment right now and I'll hold on 1 second. So I could find, where is it? Show that's on. And 62,686. 62,686. Right, so that's the new Camarilla S4 level, and it's lining up with -1 VWAP. Right, so another bowling green strategy right there. We have the pivot level, we have -1 VWAP, nice breakout above there. And yeah, man, I'll just be sticking to my strategies. To me, these strategies work perfectly. I just gotta stick with it. And don't worry, man, I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through a little downtime right now and going through a little struggle and stuff, but Yahuah is gonna bless me with the knowledge and perseverance to get through this and be very successful at this. So, you know what I mean? Just gotta hold the faith, man. I guess you'll have to demonstrate it. You know what I'm saying? Over time, if you stick around with my channel, you'll eventually see where I'm gonna get with this. All right. So it's Malak Shalomo. Y'all trade safe and stay blessed.